Hi, and welcome back to my channel. So today is an exciting day for me. I'm going to go through all of my yarn haul. So if you watched my previous video, you know I went to Portland, Oregon, and I set some time aside while I was there to visit their local yarn stores, and I had been following them on social media, and there were some yarns specifically I was very excited to see. So if you saw that video, you probably know that I got a lot of yarn, which I'm going to go through today. And if you didn't see that video, I'll link it below, and I'll link it somewhere up here as well so you can check that out. My cat is taking this opportunity to roll all over my yarn, which is not the best. I'm just going to start off by saying I'm not someone who usually gets a ton of yarn for stash purposes. I know some people do, and they get inspired by their yarn, and so they get a lot of yarn for stash and then just knit based on whatever they're feeling. I just usually get more inspired by projects. So if I see a project on Ravelry or on Instagram, I'll go and buy that yarn. The only exception here for me is sock yarn. I always buy sock yarn. I can't say no. So I do have a bit of a sock yarn stash. Most of the stash behind me is sock yarn. I feel like framing weight yarn also can have multi-purposes, so I don't mind having that on hand. However, this trip in Portland, I did end up getting a ton of yarn. I'm very happy with everything I got. I went in with, you know, looking especially for a few specific yarns I knew the stores had that my local yarn stores didn't, and also with a few projects in mind that I wanted to buy a larger quantity for. So I'm so excited to share. Let's get into it. First up is Ritual Dyes. This is a yarn store and dye studio in Southeast Portland. They have their own line of yarns, which I was very excited to see, and I saw their yarn throughout the other stores in Portland as well. In fact, I think they had a collab with Starlight Knitting Company, and they have a custom colorway for them, so I saw that later as well. They also have a ton of other yarns that I didn't see in the other stores. I think that was one of the best parts about this trip, or specifically the yarn stores, is each one had a very different selection of yarns that they had curated. With Ritual Dyes, they had a lot of European yarns. I was very excited to see Derurum Natura there. I've seen this yarn in quite a few projects recently, like designers have been using it. So for example, the Coming Soon sweater, and there are a few others. I'll see if I can put them on the screen, but I've seen this brand being used, and I don't see it anywhere in my local yarn stores. So they had that, and I got to see the Ulysses line and also the Gilead line. I thought I would get some for the Coming Soon sweater, but I ended up not getting it because there was a few other projects I wanted to cast on first that I ended up getting yarn for. It was nice to see the Derurum yarns. I saw some other very cool yarns as well. I ended up getting this Dilana yarn, which I haven't seen before, and I'll try to add a cutaway to all of these so you can see them more clearly. This is 100% wool. It's just so beautiful. The color is beautiful. It has this like heatheredness to it. I don't know why, like even though there was so much other yarn that was so beautiful that I had specifically gone in to see as well, this one just really, as soon as I saw it, I really wanted to make something from it. So I got, and this is a worsted weight yarn, so I got enough for the CP03 cardigan, which I listed in my 2023 knitting goals video as a cardigan I really wanted to make. So this is a light worsted, lighter than the suggested yarn for that cardigan, but I got enough for the cardigan, and I actually think I got too much. I think I got a little extra, but that's okay. So yeah, I got enough, and I'm very excited to make this. This the natural, I don't think it's undyed, maybe it is, but something about this color, and I hope it shows up on camera right as well. It's very like rustic looking, but it's still soft. Actually, I don't know if I would call this soft, but it's not soft. I'm just very excited to make something with this. So I got, I think this is 50 grams? 50 grams. I got about 10 of the 50-gram balls. So that was my big purchase. And I knew I had to travel back to Dallas with all of this, and I had just brought a carry-on and a backpack. So I was trying to be like slightly cautious, which kind of went out the window later on, honestly. But I was trying to be slightly cautious early on, so after I got this, I kind of tried not to look too much else. I went for this checkout, but I did want to get something from Ritual Dyes. You know, their local Portland yarn, I had to get something from them. So I ended up getting this beautiful skein of their sock yarn. And again, I'll have a cutaway. This has so many gorgeous shades of purple in it. It's like lilac, purple, lavender. It just has a ton, and it comes across so beautifully in real life. I got this for my friend. She's currently visiting Latvia, and we made a deal that we're gonna get each other a skein of yarn and exchange it after our trip. So I'm very excited to give this to her. She loves making socks, and I hope she loves this color as much as I do. So yeah, that is what I got that for. And that is my haul from Ritual Dyes. So the second store I went to is Starlight Knitting Company. I don't think I can pick a favorite. They all, like I said, had their own feel. They all had different yarns. But Starlight Knitting Company, if I had to choose a favorite, it would definitely be in the top 2 or 3. It was such a big yarn store. Like, they had so much yarn and so many brands. It wasn't super overwhelming though, which was nice because they had labeled everything so nicely. It was just, I don't know, there's something about that space. It was very nice to just walk around. I took a lot of time in that store. They had, you know, all kinds of brands that I haven't seen in my local yarn stores that I was excited to see. For example, Kelborn Woolen's Germantown yarn, which is just a workhorse yarn, I think, but I've seen it used a lot with different hats on Ravelry. Actually, there's 12 Days of Hats, a designer released on Ravelry a few years ago. And she uses it for her hats, and these are all free Ravelry hat patterns, so I'll link them below if you're interested. They're very beautiful. She always uses Kelborn Woolen's Germantown, so I wanted to see that, and they had a ton of that. They had a whole bookshelf of baby yarns, and so yeah, it was just a real pleasure to walk around the store and pick out yarns, and I got quite a few. Up first, I got this Kelborn Woolen's worsted weight yarn for a hat. This is gray. Like I said, the 12 Days of Hats, the designer release, and I don't recall her name, but I'll definitely put it up here somewhere. I don't know if it was just her or if it was a collab of different designers, but anyways, all those hat patterns that are so beautiful. I just wanted to grab a skein and check out this yarn, so I got that. I also got this Rico baby yarn. This is DK weight baby yarn in this really pretty blue color. I just feel like baby knits are inevitable. It's such a good gift, and I never have the right yarn for them on hand. I always have fingering weight, and I often end up using like sock yarn for baby gifts, but I just thought it would be nice to have some DK weight yarn. I realized after I got it that this is actually mostly acrylic, but I guess that kind of makes sense because with baby knits, you don't really want to give the parents something that they're gonna have to hand wash or anything of that sort. So it's super, super soft, and I'm really happy with it, but I didn't realize it was acrylic, but I think I would get it again anyways, because again, it works really well for babies. If you're hearing a sort of clicking sound, my cat is playing with something on the ground. And then I also saw the Farmer's Daughter brand, Farmer's Daughter fiber brand, and I got 2 skeins of their yarn. There's just something about these yarns that caught my eye. They have a sort of gleam to them that's so beautiful, and and they're very soft as well, like more soft than normal. So this is a fingering weight, and it's 80/20, so merino nylon, and I got this for my brother. It's a very dark blue. I think it comes across as black, but it's actually a very dark blue. And I also got this Cumulus by Fiberspace yarn. This is Baby Suri Alpaca and Mulberry Silk. I watched Chelsea from Tulane's Portland yarn store vlog, which I'll link below. I linked it below in my last video as well, and she really loved the Cumulus by Fiberspace yarn. She talked about it in a few podcasts, so I wanted to grab one while I was at Starlight, and I ended up grabbing 2 actually. But this is like, again, it comes across as black, but it has some lighter shades in it as well, so I thought I would pair these 2 to make a Oslo hat or a Musselburgh hat for my brother. He has been asking, this is my younger brother, he's around 13, and he has been asking for a fuzzy black hat ever since I made one for my sister, and it has been like a few years. So I thought it was time I made him a fuzzy black hat, so I'm very happy with that. And this is the other Farmer's Daughter fiber yarn I got. This is, I think this is actually DK. The other one was fingering. I think this is DK. And I got this for DK weight socks. So I made DK weight socks once upon a time, a long time ago, and they turned out really not good because I used the wrong yarn and it wasn't stretchy, so they were just really tough and weird. So I felt like I needed a redo, and I love this color. And I got Salt and Timber by Lindsay Fowler, the knitting book, and she has a DK Weight Socks pattern, so that's what I got this for. Then I also got another Cumulus by Fiberspace skein. This is a gorgeous purple color. They didn't have as many colors as I was hoping with the Cumulus. The Rose City yarn crawl had happened the week before I went to Portland, and so they said they got pretty much wiped out, which is nice. And I followed the Rose City yarn crawl on social media. It looked really cool. So yeah, so I got this darker purple, and I would love to make a hat with it. So I was thinking the top down hat Sari Northumberland recently released a pattern for. I'll put the picture up here, but I just got a random skein because I wanted to try it out. And I will say, I've knit with mohair. I haven't knit with baby alpaca, and there's like fibers all over. It feels like the sort of like thread is thicker and stronger, and then the fluffy bits are floofier. So that is my very eloquent thoughts on baby alpaca, but I don't know, it just feels floofier and softer, so it's quite different from mohair, which is interesting. I'm excited to knit with this. And then from Starlay, I also got this gorgeous bag, which my cat just rolled on, so it's a bit hairy now. It's just a little knitting bag, and it has a zip in the back. I have a few like this, but I have two, and I use them all the time, especially for sock projects, but this is like a better. Oh my god. I just want to say that while I've been vlogging, my cat is really attached to the Delana yarn for some reason. She keeps rolling over them, and every time I move them, she finds them again and rolls over them again. That's her ripping the label. So yeah, I don't know why, but she really loves this yarn, so I'm gonna have to go protect these from my cat. Before I kick her out, I just want to show the guilty party a little bit. She says she's pleading not guilty, but we're kicking her out anyways. I don't remember where I was. I think I was talking about this bag. I think I have about 2 other knitting bags like this, and I use them all the time. This one, those are just cloth though. This is slightly better quality. It has a thicker canvas inside. It has a zip in the back as well. Just a drawstring bag. Very excited to use that. And then I also got some notions. I got these gorgeous stitch markers. I got these because I was actually knitting a Musselburgh hat while I was in Portland, and I didn't bring any stitch markers, and I really needed them. So these are very beautiful, very happy. I've already used them a few times since Portland. And then I got these handmade little fabric tags because I'm knitting a sweater for my brother right now, and I can tell what the front and back is because of the short rows. Obviously the back is higher, but I don't know if he wants to like figure that out each time. So I thought this would be an easy way of just, if I sew this on, he can just easily tell. And it comes in with quite a few, so I thought I would use them for my sweaters. It's just a cute idea anyways. That is my full haul from Starlight Knitting Company. Up next, I went to Unraveled. This is a yarn store in the Pearl District, so closer to downtown in Portland. And this is the only Portland yarn store that carries Knitting for Olive. None of my local yarn stores carry Knitting for Olive either, so I was very excited, and I definitely got some. I'm keeping it in this cute little bag that I got from Unraveled as well. Apparently the owner's sister makes them. They're made from cotton, and I really like the size of it. I don't have enough sweater size bags, so I grabbed it, and I like everything about it. The construction is really good, and it has cute little bumblebees in the inside. So I saw the Knitting for Olive shelf. Like, she had quite a few. She had their merino, she had their silk mohair. I think she even had like cotton merino blend, and there was a few colors that I really wanted, but for the October sweater, but she didn't have enough skeins of the color. It was, I think the color was called Cotton, potentially. I don't recall though. And I wanted to pair it with one of the more taupey silk mohairs because I thought it created a really soft cream that wasn't yellow or too brown. It was just right in the middle, but she didn't have enough skeins of those. And there was another color that was so beautiful. Just gonna show you. This is the unicorn colorway, and it's so pretty. I had been thinking of a lavender sweater or a lilac purple sweater ever since I saw the home sweater v-neck. I think I mentioned this in my 2023 knitting goals video that I really wanted to knit that sweater, which is by Kadri, in a purple. So this purple is exactly the purple I was thinking of, but this isn't the right yarn for the home sweater v-neck. That uses a blown yarn, I think a DK weight, potentially a worsted weight. No, I think it's DK. And obviously these two are lace and fingering, but the color was just so pretty. So I got a sweater's quantity. The lady at Unraveled was so lovely. She helped me calculate how much I would need for the home sweater v-neck. But after I came home and looked at the yarn, I just didn't want to knit a sweater that was knit with blown yarn, with fingering weight yarn. I think the drape is going to be very different, and this yarn is so beautiful. I'd rather use it for another project that requires a more drapey yarn. And I would love to still knit the home sweater v-neck, but I think I'll get other yarn for that. So this yarn I am still choosing a project for, and I am very excited to knit this. I'm going to try to do a cast on video for that project, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. But yeah, very, very happy with this yarn. It's just so beautiful. Every time I look at it, I can't wait to get a sweater with these colors, so yeah. I also ended up getting 2 skeins of the Concept by Katya cotton merino yarn. This is a beautiful blown yarn. She had quite a few shades. I could have used this for the home sweater v-neck, but I think this is more worsted weight, and at this point I had gotten quite a bit of yarn. I didn't want to get I don't know, I wasn't feeling it for the sweater. I didn't want to get a large quantity without being confident it was the yarn I wanted for the project, but it was so beautiful that I just got 2 skeins. So very happy with that. And that is my haul from Unraveled. After Unraveled, I went to Pearl Fiber Arts. Now this wasn't a yarn store I had mentioned as part of my plans. I hadn't known of it, but the lady at Unraveled said that the owner of Pearl Fiber Arts was retiring and I should visit it while I could, and it was very close to Unraveled, like a 5-minute drive or less. So I went there, and she didn't have a ton of yarn. Obviously, as she's retiring, I don't think she's getting more stock, and the yarns she did have, a lot of them aren't available to me in my local yarn store, so I didn't get a ton, but I did get 1 skein. I got this really pretty Penna yarn, which is again baby suri alpaca, and I think it has some nylon in it as well, and it's super floofy, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to knit with this, but I grabbed a skein of this. It just looked so floofy, and the color is called Croissant, which I thought was really cute. And then she had a wall of buttons, not a wall, a shelf of buttons, which was super cool, and I grabbed some buttons as well. These are the buttons I got. You always need buttons in projects, so I grabbed a few. Next up, I went to Scrap. Scrap is not a yarn store, they're a creative reuse store, so they have a lot of different items, and you can get a lot of items in bulk for a very low price, and I just wanted to check them out because sometimes I think stores like this will have a lot of yarn that gets donated or gets given, and that you can get at a lower price that's really good quality. And unfortunately, they didn't really have a lot of yarn this time around, but they had a lot of really cool notions, especially for sewing. They had a lot of knitting needles, which I didn't really need, but they had I got to see zippers and buttons and that kind of thing. I ended up picking up buttons for 40 cents, just some nice plastic buttons, so I grabbed these. Up next was Close Knit. This is the last yarn store I went to. I was very excited to go there because they have the Letlopi and Plotalopi yarns, which are Icelandic yarns, and this yarn store again had so much. So I tried not to look around too much because at this point I was like, I have so much already and I can't get too much more. But I did want to get enough for the October sweater because they have Isayer yarn, and Isayer is the yarn that Petite Knit recommends for the October sweater. So she recommends the Tavini yarn, so I did go and check it out. They had quite a few colorways. The one I wanted, which was more neutral, it was like a neutral, almost undyed colorway. They didn't have enough skeins of that. They had 2, I think, 50-gram skeins. So I got a more gray one, which you can see in the vlog. I got this gorgeous silk mohair by, oh, this is by Daruma. This is so beautiful. It's a really gorgeous, warm taupe, but it has a sheen to it that's really pretty, and it's almost rose gold. I don't think it's showing up like that on camera, but it has almost a rose gold to it. So I bought those 2, but when I went out into the sunlight, And in the vlog, I said I bought those two, and that's kind of where the vlog ended. But I was looking at it, and the gray had a very, of the Tavini had a very cool undertone, and this has a very warm undertone. So I was kind of unsure of them together, and I'd gotten so much of the yarn, I just didn't want to get so much and then travel back to Dallas and regret it. And I don't think they were playing off together very well. I'll insert a clip of me talking about them in the vlog so you can see them. So I ended up going back, and they don't do returns, but they exchange. So I exchanged the Tavini and I kept this gorgeous silk mohair. And instead of the Tavini, I ended up getting the Alpaca 2. Oh wait, I'm wrong. Not the Alpaca 2. I got the Isayer Merlin instead. And this is a very beautiful warm brown shade, and I think this and the mohair are going to play together so much better. They already, like, they just look so good together. The mohair has like a really nice sheen to it, but the Merlin is deeper, so I think they're going to be so beautiful together. I'm so excited to make the October sweater with these. I do have to say the Tavini has more of a rusticness to it, so I think it would have more structure. One of the ladies at Close Knit really helped me out, and she kind of agreed that the Tavini would give more of a structured sweater, whereas the Merlin is very soft, so it's going to be much more drapey. But I think I'm okay with that. I feel like the October sweater is quite slouchy, drapey anyway, so I think that'll be totally fine. And these colorways just look so good together. So I carried quite a bit back with me. After I got here, my sister was like, how did you get all of that into your carry-on? And I don't know, but I did. So that was what I got from Close Knit. And then I had to get Let Lopi. I had told myself I would. I didn't initially, but just because after I got all the yarn, I was like, this is too much to carry back. But when I did the exchange, I had some credit, so I went to the Let Lopi section, which I had initially grabbed some yarn for socks, and then I'd put it back, like trying to like be cautious of how much space I had. But I had credit, so I had to get it. So I got these really nice light blue Let Lopi skeins. And I'm very excited. I want to make like really thick woolen winter socks. I want to make the camp socks by Ozetta, I think, so excited to cast those on. It's still kind of chilly in Dallas, so I kind of wish I had them right now. But I'm gonna get those going probably in the next few months. I also touched the Plötulopi. I didn't buy any, I just had a lot of yarn, so I was very excited to see it and touch it and feel it, and I did, and it was shockingly soft. Like, Let Lopi is not soft, but I knew that. Let Lopi is quite rustic. I don't think it's super scratchy, but I don't think I would make a sweater out of it just yet. I'm not sensitive at all on my feet, so I think these would make great socks. I don't know how I would do the sweater with these, especially around the neck area. But Plötulopi is like the softest. I didn't realize that unspun yarn would be so soft. So it was really nice, and I do want to make a sweater from Plötulopi at some point. I think it's called the Gentle Lopi. I'll put a picture up of it. It's this gorgeous pattern. I would love to make something of that sort. But anyways, I didn't get any of the Plötulopi, but I did feel it. And then that is everything I got from Close Knit. I completely forgot about the last skein. This is by Earl Grey Fiber Company, and I got this from Close Knit as well. This is the gunpowder sock in the colorway Margot. It is so incredibly beautiful because I noticed right off the bat that it was softer than other sock yarns, and I think it's because it has yak in it. I haven't knit with yak before, but it's merino yak nylon, so I'm attributing the extra softness to the yak. And yeah, it's just so pretty. So I want to make a muscle burra for myself with this. It's just the most beautiful warm taupe. This is probably one of the shades I just can't say no to. I just like warm brown, soft browns are definitely the yarns I gravitate to the most, I feel. I also had Weird Sisters on my agenda. It's a yarn store slash bookstore in Portland, but unfortunately I just didn't have enough time to get there. Hopefully next time. It looks amazing. I just didn't have the time to go there. And then I saw a yarn store. I was passing it, and I again didn't have enough time, but it was called Backstory, and it also looked like a bookstore slash yarn store. So that, it looked very cool. I unfortunately just couldn't stop. But yeah, hopefully next time maybe I'll go to those as well. It was just so fun to visit Portland. It was so fun to see all these yarn stores. Everybody who worked at all of these yarn stores were so genuinely lovely. A lot of them helped me pick out the right quantity of yarn. If I was like chatting with them and picking out yarn, they would like Google the pattern I wanted to make so they could talk about it with me. It was just a great experience. I do have quite a few cool yarn stores around me. Actually, Dallas has quite a few very cool yarn stores, but it's just always fun to travel and see the ones that you haven't seen before. I'm very excited for my next few projects. I think my first cast on is going to be something with the Knitting for Olive unicorn colorway. I also am very excited to get on the October sweater. I am ready for those Let Lope socks and all of these other yarns. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.